had a conversation, speaking of which, with our buddy Tim Prangley on the USC channel yesterday as he dropped by our State of the Union address of the Voice of College Football. We talked USC quarterback play, mixed reviews and expectations about Jaden Mayaba and what he will bring to the table after he took over late in the season for Miller Moss in 2024. Now, USC and Lincoln Riley always looking for the next hotshot quarterback. Of course, that's Lincoln Riley's legacy, and the next one might just be Jonas Williams.
Well, we talked a lot about early on, Mark, in some of our early recruiting shows about, Jonas Williams being that 2026 quarterback room down in Oregon. Dan Lanning obviously doing a really great job trying to create depth. But one thing we definitely alluded to in particular with Jonas Williams was that tightness, that depth already that was happening in Oregon going to be too close for comfort. And it looks like it has. This past Friday evening, Jonas Williams, Lincoln Riley, along with I really got to credit, USC bringing in Chad Bowden, obviously, Bobby Bowden, Chad Bowden in as the new GM for USC. I think that obviously we've seen him be the right hand guy over at Notre Dame for a long time. Obviously that long standing relationship beginning at the University of Cincinnati, but I think Lincoln Riley and the Trojans bringing him on as the new GM really has opened doors, and we're going to see a lot of we're not going to see a lot of flips continue over at USC. But again, Friday evening, 4-star quarterback Jonas Williams has decided to flip to USC. He's one of the top quarterbacks. This is a monster flip. I think this has been one that USC is really looking for. I don't know if maybe it was last night while I was hearing, the State of the Voice of College Football address. It was probably our USC guy talking about that USC is just really one good quarterback away from that kind of season. So Lincoln Riley definitely building depth, and it really could be with a young guy out of Lincoln East and Jonas Williams. The dominoes quickly are starting to fall, but again, the relationships that are going on here really do matter on the recruiting trail. And not only did this help bolster that quarterback room, that offensive room for USC, but it's even though it's still early to 12 for the 2026 class, Lincoln Riley and Chad are definitely smiling out in SoCal because it has now bumped up the Trojans to the #1 recruiting class in the class of 2026, right as we speak. And it's really, like I said, this edition of Williams, he's a mobile passer. I mean, he's got extreme accuracy. When we've seen him in his film and his reps, he's just got a lot of instinctive ability. His strides between his freshman and sophomore tape, have really been growth, even with him changing schools between that. But like I said, what really stands out to me about him is just his accuracy, his growth, and then just where he can place the ball. And like I said, I think he's going to be a great foundational depth, like I always say, with this young talent. He's really effective when you see him as far as his accuracy, but I think the way he's built, he's a little bit of a thicker build, and I talk about that with quarterbacks. It's obviously not the typical prototype, but I think for him, he really uses it to his advantage, really makes him more mobile. And of course, we know that USC definitely is on a roll. They were also able to flip Santa Margarita Catholic defensive lineman and Samoto Catanoga, I hope I pronounced it right, also on Sunday, who is also a former, commit to Notre Dame. So, that new hire of Bowden is definitely going to be shaking up the Irish, because we know that we're hearing also some rumblings that USC may not be done with taking some guys not just out of Oregon, but also more importantly out of Notre Dame with this new hire and transfer. So definitely some guys to be watching. But another name we're hearing that USC might be taking, who's also a teammate of the Catholic defensive lineman, is Trent Mosley, who's been a coveted guy a long time, Notre Dame commit. And that's going to be another big wide receiver battle. But again, as the off season heats up, the recruiting trail definitely heats up, but it's definitely a time for flips. So USC is definitely setting itself in this position, not one, but two strong flips with a 4 and a 5-star quarterback and defensive lineman. So Lincoln Riley is definitely smiling out in SoCal, and they're definitely trying to steal some luck for the Irish, trying to flip from some other schools, not just Oregon.